Welcome to another episode of the Risk Takers Podcast presented by HYM Enterprises. I'm your host, Harold Matos. This is a show where we feature esteemed business leaders of Southwest Florida as they provide us insights into their business and personal journey. Please like, share, and subscribe for a weekly dose of your motivation and inspiration. All right, when I met this gentleman that's on my left in 2011, he was a prominent figure in the nightlife industry as I was just starting to break in as a new promoter. But his true passion has always been behind the chair as a barber. Get ready to hear from my next guest that owns more Twin Cutz barbershop chains than there is Subway restaurants in Southwest Florida. The Risk Takers Podcast would like to welcome Sean Casey.
What's up, man?
Thank
you for having me, Harold. Good to see you.
Yeah, man.
Good to see you, brother.
How you feeling mentally, spiritually, emotionally?
I'm in a great place. I believe I'm always in a great place. You know, we all have our ups and downs in life, but in reality is, do we live it like that every day, or we just keep looking for the brighter outcome? So I'm in a great place, and especially because you here, my brother. That's why,
All right, man. We gotta. How far we go back now?
You said it, 2011. You call it before I do. Actually, I was like, man, it's been a while. I thought it was a little bit before that. But you was probably just like in high school then?
I had just graduated.
I do remember my man used to come up to me all the time and be like, hey, I'm Harold. I'm the youngest promoter in Southwest Florida. That was your tagline.
No, I'm the OG if I try to get back in. Sean Casey, originally from New York, but been in Southwest Florida numerous years. Did your barbering journey start in New York or here in Southwest Florida?
Oh, I got my license in New York City. And started barber school in 1998, graduated in 1999, cut hair in the city till 2006, and then I moved here.
What borough in New York were you cutting hair
I was
at?
right in Harlem, Spanish Harlem, 106 in Columbus. And then from that was my first shop, but I sucked so bad that I had to move from that neighborhood, take a train all the way downtown, because I was a rookie barber. I wasn't terrible, though. I was good in school. But then I went to the real world thinking that I was that hot kid in school, and then went around some real deal barbers, and I was like, yeah, But I took those learning lessons, went downtown, and killed it. Was doing celebrities and everything in those early days. So I was doing hair until 2006, and then I moved down to this area.
All right. Who cut better in New York, the Puerto Ricans or the Dominicans?
Ooh, I was in a Dominican neighborhood. 106 in Columbus was a Dominican neighborhood. It was during the time that Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa were going through the home run competition. That neighborhood was flooded with Dominicans. They'd come up to me back then. I was a lot thinner. I had wild hair. I had big hair. They was like, go to the Puerto Rican kid. I wasn't even Puerto Rican. I'm Italian. But I was in that neighborhood that, I just agreed. I was like, yeah, I'll be the Puerto Rican kid in this area. But they were both fire. But, the Dominicans are nice with that razor, my guy.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. They're nice with the razor.
All right. So you moved here, you said 06.
Yes.
You had your license, you were cutting hair, but you didn't have your own barbershop yet.
No.
Okay. But in between that era of 06, 2010, 11, a lot of people don't know that you were in the nightlife industry. Mm-hmm. So, tell me about your time in the nightlife industry and what sparked it, because you was a barber before a promoter.
All right, so this is even before I even came to Fort Myers. So when I was 19, 20 years old, I was cutting hair. And I started doing celebrities because it was in Lower Manhattan. So I was cutting guys that would play against the Knicks. So like Ray Allen, I cut Spike Lee's hair, I cut Method Man, I cut Slick Rick. I was doing all these old school rappers that would pop in. So my friend came in, his name was, he wasn't my friend then, his name was Anthony Marshall. And he owned a company called Lyricist Lounge. And it was on MTV. It was an improv sketch show. And it was signed with Raucous Entertainment. So they had like Common and Talib Kweli and Erykah Badu. And I started hanging out at the studio and doing interns. So I was that kid at the stages, or I was that kid passing out flyers on 42nd Street to get into the club, but I would also cut everybody in the studio's hair as well. So I wanted to be this big time studio producer. And I did bring a few things and stuff. So let me show you something real quick. Mish, grab me that tall one right there, yeah. So I got a few things I want to show you. So this is what I was doing in New York. I worked with all these companies. So we're talking about the Lyricist Lounge right here. So I was an intern for Nas, Outkast, Q-Tip, Ja Rule, Lyricist Lounge, Busta Rhymes, and Violator. So I was that kid that was putting up posters on the platforms, throwing flyers on the ground. So my whole life leading up to it was about marketing and promotion and branding. So when I moved to Fort Myers, I took the same approach of nightlife to help me build a following and brand for myself. So I ran my barbershop at the beginning, or even my brand before I even started a barbershop, as what I learned as running a music company.
And so you were doing that in New York, and then you came to Southwest Florida. So, so you got to talk to us about that.
Right. So when I came down to Florida, right, and I don't want to jump ahead of your questions because I saw some of your questions, but it leads into this.
Right.
So I moved here because my son was living here, and I was going back and forth from New York to Fort Myers. As he was getting older, it was just one of those things. It was like, man, you know, like, I need to spend a little bit more time with him. I need to make this move. It was getting a little bit difficult for me, and I just loved being around him. He was my inspiration, right? So while I was cutting hair and I was learning all those things, I packed up one day, and my grandparents were living here, and I moved, and I stayed with them for a little while. There was a buddy of mine who owned a barbershop. It was called Platinum Creation. His name was Rodney Jackson. He passed away, 1 year into it. I was working at his location. It was across from Hooters on the corner behind the We Buy Gold area. And I was cutting hair, and I had no clients, and I needed to build up my clientele. So there was a DJ that came in. His name was Dito. Now goes by DJ Spiff. And he lived in Miami, he lived in Fort Myers, he lived in New York. And I was like, oh, you're from New York? I'm from New York. And we were talking about music like crazy. So there was a missing mark in the area during that time where I didn't see anything that happened locally for any local music artists, poets, break dancers, graffiti artists, anything. So I worked with this company, Lyricist Lounge, that was a platform for these artists. If you want to do some history about Lyricist Lounge, like Biggie started. They did the first Bad Boy party over there. Like any big rapper, for instance, 50 Cent was like an opener for Fat Joe way back in the day in Big Pun, going by the name of Curtis Jackson on a Lyricist Lounge platform. When they went on to MTV, it really blew up. So I was like, what would be dope if we started doing an open mic in this area? So I was cutting some people, and I had this love for music, and I went to a place called Vinny's that was down 41. I think it became La Best at one time.
Yes.
But
Right by the bridge, right
Yes.
by of Lee, right across Lee Memorial, but close to the bridge. Before the bridge, but
Absolutely.
Okay,
So
okay.
this is in 2006. I moved in 2006. By 2006, 2007, I'm doing this open mic at Vinny's, and it started with like 25 people, and I was hosting it. And it had everybody. It had Spiff was my guy every week. Had a guest appearance by Quest. Double O, Griff Gotti. Radio station was popping in. We were doing open mics. We were having battle raps at the end. I brought the Fight Club from New York down, and they actually did it at Ricochet. From that place on, we transferred it over to Cachet at the time. We did it bigger. Here's a little thing about it. I wanted to show you something. This was a mixtape by Miami Chaos, who did my album cover, with Spiff on the cover, right? And on the back, you'll see like OMG Wicks. You didn't know he was a rapper? I lost the CD. I got to give you the CD. It's on 3 times on my track. So we got Frank Linney when he was just coming out of jail at the time. His manager, B-Boy, came up to me and was like, yo, this thing is crazy. I need to be on the spot. But if you look at this track list, this is a lot of forefathers of the industry right there. So long story short, the open mic thing popped off, and that allowed me to build my clientele. So mind you, if I'm doing your haircut and I need to double up, I was able to say, hey, why don't you come to this open mic? And then you would start coming. You'd pay me for a haircut. You'd pay me $5 to get in the thing. I'd make a little extra money. I needed to get out of my grandparents' house fast. So I started building up. I had nothing when I came here, nothing at all. I remember doing that to just get a car. And then I got a car, and I was promoting. And from that, I did other events. And I brought this show out here to, I brought these VH1 stars out. They were called Rabbit and Callie from Real Chance of Love or something like that. And we sold out Level. And this was like in 2008.
now where was Level? Take us back a little bit for the viewers, the ones that
Level
don't know.
was downtown Fort Myers. This was like across the street from Neo. There was a place around the street called Venue at that time. And Level actually was cool, but it wasn't. Like Neo was great, Venue was great. They knew I was popping as a barber. They know I went from 25 people day one in an open mic to packing in 300-400 people at an open mic on a Monday. And we were doing breakdancing and battle rapping, and we were doing graph writing, and we were doing spoken word poetry and all that stuff. So they were like, do you want to do this event? Let me get that one box right over there.
Now, did you do any breakdancing or
I didn't do
rapping on
backgrounds.
the
You know
mic?
what I did? I hosted. I was a good speaker.
I remember you used to say you was a host.
So This was the one. I brought a few things because I feel like sometimes to tell the story, you actually brought me back a little bit, and I thought that was pretty cool because this is a time.
What you got?
This is a time that I forgot. All right, so I used to frame like a lot of my big ones. So this was the big one show that I did from VH1, and this was a lot of the strategies I helped establish my barbershop. Was I was doing things and promoting things. So at that time, I was doing ads on the radio station at 105. I was doing it on Comcast at the time and promoting. So every time the show was showing leading up to the event, I was advertising this event. So this event right here was the one that killed it. And then the owner came up to me and was like, hey, I would like you to do every Saturday. I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to do this every Saturday because I don't want to water it down. But he convinced me, he's like, you know what? Ladies drink free. And I started it, and I was, I did it for a solid 3-4 years to the point where I was able to fund my first barbershop just through my club money with no loans or anything.
Now, I was in the nightlife industry for a decade. I, like a lot of people, I actually didn't have a plan B after the nightclub. So I was financially literate, and I blew a lot of my money. So I spent my money on liabilities, but also, helping my family as well. So it wasn't until I was done with the nightlife to where I started to educate myself, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, watching all these videos. And so that's when I made a transition from entertainment to education because I wanted to, make sure that other people, especially in our community, didn't do what I did. But like I said, you actually did it very intelligently. You took money from the nightlife, put it towards a barbershop, which was you was already passionate about it. How you talked to us about your marketing when it comes to how you took it from the nightclub into the barbering business. But so you open up the first shop and then you call it Twin Cutz. Out of curiosity, and I'm sure a lot of people, have asked themselves or have wondered, do you have a twin out there?
It was a nickname I've had forever. Even when I was going back to club promotion, there was a friend of mine that we used to act the same. We were doing parties in New York, Joe's Pub downtown. We were doing all these little events throughout the city. We were calling it Twin Entertainment. I came here, I was telling people, hey, when I was booking, my name's Twin, that's just how I was called. I started doing the clubs, I called it Twin Cutz Enterprise. I used the branding and marketing. I remember one of my first tattoos was putting Twin Cutz on my arm with the goal of opening a shop. I set a 5-year plan for myself when I did a shop. So for 5 years, I worked at a barbershop and I saved my money. I couldn't get a loan, I had a terrible credit score, I didn't have any money at all. So I wanted to set a goal for myself to open up a barbershop. So I did the clubs and the nightclubs, and it was a great experience. But yes, I knew how to stop, and I was making some great money. I remember going to the bank and saving every single dollar that I did. I mean, I was driving my little Toyota Scion when I probably could have at one time had a Mercedes, and I didn't. It was saving every dollar. So what I did, and with 5 years after I built this big brand through like the open mic and knowing the music industry and taking all those little gems along the way, I put it in a pot and then I put it out there for me to open up my first barbershop, and I funded myself my first shop, and I actually through the same money was able to save some money when the time was right to open up my second barbershop, as well as I put money towards my home that I started paying on at that time.
Who gave you the education on how to budget?
Nobody. Yeah. Nobody at all.
There wasn't a mistake.
I have a fear. I have a fear of losing everything, and I never wanted to be that person, And I have this fear of not having anything. And I knew at that time, I think materialistic things was never the most important thing to me. I enjoy things. Don't get me wrong. I like a nice outfit. I like nice things here and there, but I don't get excited. Like you can pull up with a very fancy car, cool story. I'm happy for you. Like, I'm not the type that I fantasize of having this crazy $300,000 sports car. I'll rent one if I really want one. I like experience. And as I got older, experiences mean a lot more to me. So if I was to go back there, and mind you, when I lived in New York City, my bedroom was, like the corner of my shampoo bowl. That's all I knew. My headrest was right by a window. I had a fan that was in the actual window that spun around. And it was a small place, and I was used to walking everywhere, and I was a subway kid, So to me, those things weren't that crazy. So when I had an opportunity, mixed with the most important thing I would say in my life was my son being born in high school. He was a foundation for me to make sure that I was doing the right thing. So anytime I would spend anything recklessly, I would feel very guilty because I was like, if I was to spend something recklessly, I'm taking away an opportunity for him to do something.
All right, so you funded your first 2 barbershops. All right, but first, you started with one, but I had a question. Obviously, we all have played this game. It's called Monopoly. How often did you play Monopoly? Because why 6 barbershops? Is it 6?
It was 7, and then I just recently had sold one of them so I can focus here on the school, yes.
Okay, so there's 6 barbershops. So
Yeah.
Did Monopoly inspire you to open up so many shops?
No. I didn't really play too much like that. You know, I didn't really play too many games like that at all. I didn't have no siblings or anything. But real talk, no, I didn't do that. You know what it was? I never had the intention of opening up more than one barbershop. What I wanted to do was every single thing that I did in my life, I just wanted to achieve. So when I moved here from New York, it was like in 5 years, I'd like to open up a barbershop. How can I get a barbershop? Well, let me take some of the skill sets I learned in New York as a promoter and as a barber, put it together for me to make some extra money. Once I made enough money, then it was time for me to open up my barbershop. We were talking before, it was like 2011, you were getting in and I was getting out. Well, I opened my shop in 2010. So I was a firm believer is I can't spread myself too thin. Yes, you can make a lot of money pouring into a club, but it was taking away from me being a businessman. And my goal was now I want to put all those tools that I did to make myself a popular club promoter at the time to make my barbershop a very popular brand so I can attract great barbers and build up a team and be a very busy person. I started outgrowing myself. I didn't realize that opportunity. The time came when I was opening up my second shop was when all the FGCU kids started coming. And I was advertising like crazy. So instead of doing like the amount of flyers, I was gonna show you all these flyers that I was doing and stuff, but I started doing that for my barbershop. I put out a TV commercial. I was one of the few. I think there was a shop when I first came down that was doing some TV commercials. I didn't invent the wheel, but you know what I mean? I'm not here to reinvent it either. So I knew what I needed to do, and I shot a commercial, and I placed it. I remember The Walking Dead was a real popular show. I remember The Jersey Shore was a popular show. I remember LeBron played with the Miami Heat. So I would place commercials on like when the Heat played the Celtics because I knew the region, or when they played the Knicks or a big game, and every new episode of The Walking Dead. Then I spread out commercials on ESPN and BT and stuff. And we're talking about in 2010 when that was a little bit more relevant and it wasn't streaming as much. And that started really bringing in a lot of people. So when I started cutting the FGCU kids and the basketball team, when they went to the Dunk City tournament, it kind of exploded. And the first place I really wanted to open up was the Gulf Coast Town Center. And the leasing company turned me down. So I settled to do something over here on 6 Mile. 3 years later, I built up such a strong brand, I reapproached the area because I knew somebody was going to try to compete against me, so why don't I compete against myself? I've established my business, so the barbers that work in the area already have capitalized locally in the area, so now why don't I go there because I know the college kids will start going in that area. And day one, I had 10 barbers working in that area. The whole team came out, took pictures. I had a Dunk City mural in the background. The President Bradshaw came in. I got another thing. Do you mind if I get up and show you something for a second?
No.
Right, hold on.
I forgot we hosted the party with Dunk City with you. You remember at Mirage?
Now you're remembering things, baby.
No, I was like, oh, hold on. I was like,
I quickly forget. No, I'm joking.
No. We did 3-year anniversaries for the barber. It was anniversary
That's
mixed
right.
with Dunk City.
For the few. There was one time when they won the ESPY, and they came out with the ESPY Awards. So this was pictures of the starting 5 of actual Dunk City.
Okay.
This is right when they just made it, but they were coming into the barbershop, and everyone's like, who are these tall kids? No one cared. And then when they went to that tournament, and ESPN covered them, people were lining up. So this was in my first location, and then they came out and supported me on my second location, and it made it boom. And from that point on, like anything, I understood the formula of building up businesses. But to be very truthful, I got to share with you this. And I don't want to overtalk. Do I talk too much?
No, you're
good.
good.
Because you're the host, and I know
No.
I'm a talker. Anyway.
I've been talking for 3 years on financial education, bro.
You might have met your match. Anyway, Relationships are very huge to me. Every person that I've met in this area, I brought a bunch of stuff to just relive things, to bring it out and whatever, just to show things. But the people that are on the flyers and on the businesses and stuff, to this day, I've maintained a relationship. So the owner of Club Level at the time, his name was Danny Womack. His name is Danny Womack, right? So we did some great Saturdays together. He moved on to Gainesville. He opened up a business over a club in Gainesville, and then he came back into the area. And I've already had 2 popping locations. My son was approaching 18 years old, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna move to Atlanta. I was traveling, like in 2011, I started traveling with a company called Andis Clipper Company. So I was doing education around the country at like trade schools and barbershops and salons and everything. And I found a passion doing that part of my life. And I remember just hanging out with him one day, and he's like, yo, how's the barbershops going? I'm like, yo, they're going great, but I think, you know, when Sean turns 18, I'm going to go to Atlanta, because what I did love in New York was when I was doing those celebrities early on. There was no social media, there was nothing, but I just remembered the good times. And I was doing some shows in Atlanta, and I had such a great time over there. I'm like, there's TV, there's production, I can, you know, forget the stress of the business, I could just focus on myself. I said, man, you got an amazing thing going on. He's like, how can I help you with that? How can I be a part of that? I said, well, I like the marketing, I like the management, I like the team building, but I don't really like all the other things associated with it. He's like, well, I'm good at that. You know, I own nightclubs and stuff, and I can help you, and we can work together. What you're strong at and what I'm strong at, and we can come together. And that's when I opened up my 3rd barbershop, and then I had a system from my 2 mixed with his ideas and his planning, and we were able to scale throughout the years, and we started putting together multiple barbershops within the next few years.
So I'm gonna go back a little bit because there's a lot to unpack. Those commercials on TV. What was the most that you paid for a commercial on TV? Because you said if you ran them while LeBron was playing and those type of channels, you know, yeah, it was 2010, but they still wasn't cheap. So what was the most you paid for a commercial?
It was expensive for me at that time. So I remember doing like a budget of like $500 a month, which was hard for me back then, right? You know what I mean? So when you have an overhead of a brand new business and everything else.
Will you do it again though?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Doing that right now too. But like my place ads, right? So back then they do it differently now. But back then you could like sit with a sales rep, and I would say, okay, well, here's my budget. Take about $350 and spread it on BT, ESPN, and, you know, channels that men like to watch and college kids like to watch. And it could play at any time throughout the day. But when I did like The Walking Dead, the new episode, it was $50 a spot. Every time the Heat played, it was $50 a spot.
That was the most expensive spot because they played?
Believe it or back then.
Yeah, okay.
Much cheaper than what it is now. You probably pay a lot more.
I bet.
A lot more. But for that time, you know, it is what it is. And if I just wanted to place a commercial on that channel throughout the day, it could have been like $5 shot. But you had to have a minimum, and I think I went from the minimum. But I strategically looked at my market and my area and like who's the demographic that comes in and wants to get their haircuts, and what are they watching and what am I watching? So if I'm into it, why don't I place the commercials on the things that I'm placing? So. All
right, and then so we talked about commercials. We talked about the numerous barbershops that you have in the area. What was the most that you have spent on the barbershop out of the 6 that you have? Barbershops, not school.
Wow. 6 figures.
6 figures. Okay.
I have a shop at Coconut Point.
That's the one that we spend the most. What did you spend the most on? Designing or just the
I mean, you know, build out is the most, right? When you do a build out, it's the things you don't pay attention to. When I opened up my business, when you look at the baseboards around the building, you don't realize like that cost you a couple of grand. Like the things that I started going into like restaurants and areas and things you overlook when you go into the bathroom and you just like see the little tile on the floors or the little you don't realize all those things are 1,000 here, 1,500 there, 2,000 there. Plumbing kills you. My first barbershop, I wanted shampoo. I wanted sinks at every station. And I remember doing the build out and doing pipes along the way. It was thousands upon thousands. My first shop was actually the most money because I understood by the time I got to Coconut Point and stuff like that, how to negotiate and work through the bank and stuff like that. But my first shop I paid and I financed my own myself. So when I did that, I spent like probably 20 grand more than what I normally would spend after that, duplicating my shop. So I didn't realize, like, man, I didn't realize when you chipped into the ground for plumbing how much money that would cost to put sinks. And it's the little things like that, man. Plumbing, electricity, before you even start getting into the seats in the station, you think you got an area, you throw some seats in the station. But atmosphere was very important to me too. I didn't want to just throw mirrors and chairs around the area. I felt that the atmosphere played a big part because everything was so segregated. Even when I was cutting hair, it was like, you know, you had the Dominican barbershop, and you had the hipster barbershop, and you had the black barbershop, and you had the Puerto Rican barbershop, and you had, it's like, and I was like, man, you scaring money away. And even when I worked at my first shop, it was a very comfortable environment. Dudes was like, women and kids felt comfortable coming into that barbershop. It was like a hangout, which is cool. But I wanted everybody to feel comfortable. And one of the main things that I paid attention to was atmosphere, providing an atmosphere that's welcoming to everybody.
Is it better, in your case, let's say, buy a barbershop that's being sold by an owner that doesn't want anymore, or just build one out? Which one would you know?
I think you're going to save money if you can find a barbershop, for sure.
What if there's not a lot of traffic in that plaza?
Right, well, my thing was I always tried to find it in areas that had heavy traffic. My first shop, they called it Real Estate A. So I was on 6 Mile Cypress on the corner of Colonial, right? But it was before everything was built out, right? You know, Publix was the only thing, not anymore. I got out of there. I moved that shop because the time my 10-year lease was up, I found a place, and I've already established my brand, that I can save $1,500 moving down the street into a little different area. But every shop that I got was important. I spent a little bit more money for better visibility. So like one shop's in Coconut Point, one shop is in the Gulf Coast Town Center, one shop is right next door to Publix, right? Like everything is placed very visible or where people are stopping at a stoplight. So you pay a little bit more for that. My tip for that would be, I try to find things that are vanilla box and find rectangular shapes where I don't have to ask for too many permits and stuff. So I know what I'm looking to do. I know where to place my stations. I know how to place my chairs and stuff. So it's not as much build outs or breaking things down and asking for permits, right? You're naturally going to have to ask for permits with your electrical and your plumbing and those things, but like unnecessary permits of breaking down a wall or putting up a wall. So if I can find units that are a little bit more clean for me to develop, made my job easier. So by doing that, I looked for areas that were a little bit more busier. But if I could, the perfect formula is if you can find a shop that's already established in real estate A areas, go for that. Definitely take care of that.
All right. Do you have more barbershops in the area than nationwide chains like Super Cutz or Sports Clip?
I'm not. Yeah, those guys like 250. I might have traded all my Twin Cutz for one Sports Clips if I do it again.
Boy. All right, but so those are nationwide chains.
Yes.
You're more of a small business, mom and pop, shop business, which is amazing. 6 barbershops is nothing to sneeze at. You have the largest team out of any barbershop or even hair salon in the area. What challenges come with that?
I can only be at so many places at once, right? As I've grown and I've built, I've delegated a good solid foundation around me. My business partner really delegates looking over a lot of the business strategies. I'm on the backside doing a lot of the marketing and the strategies and the ideas. I still have a lot of my older barbers that I still connect with and build with and stuff. There's new barbers that, sometimes I don't even get a chance to meet, right? Like in certain areas, but I have good managers at each one of those locations. I'm giving people opportunities. So as I grow, it's like just like Sports Clips. How many people at one time meets the owner of Sports Clips, right? You do. So I think the challenge is the organic feel of, one thing I miss about the first shop was like being one of the guys, right? Like you miss that part, but being one of the guys, then you'd be one of the guys forever. I'd be a 65-year-old, 70-year-old barber talking about, man, back in the day, I woulda, coulda, shoulda done this, right? For the laughs and the jokes and to live it up. But there was a great moment with that. And then there was a time for me to expand and grow and be bigger than that and take challenges and risks. And as I did that, it was like any other business, as a guy to step away from the business in order to work onto the business. And in order to do that, you have to sacrifice your finances at times. You may be comfortable making X amount of dollars every month and you're covering all your bills. So if I was to tell you, you want to start something new and you're going to have to take a $2,000 decrease just to start something new for the next 2 years, are you willing to do that? And I don't think too many people are willing to do that, right? They're afraid to because they got their family, they got the kids, they're comfortable with what they have. I do that. I step back and I take those losses because I know 5 years, if I set back myself for 2 years, 5 years from now, I'll be in a better place in my life. So I think the challenges of managing so many people is the interaction with so many people, just the personal connection, but building a team around you where you can still connect and delegate positions to people where you still have that opportunity to grow and build. And I always tell everybody, you know, at the end of the day, I'm human. You can always give me a call. And anybody has the freedom to reach out to me and give me a call, and we can talk and we build. I love the growth of people.
All right, so how do you hire, how are the barbers hired at a Twin Cutz location? Do they have to be 21 and up, 18 and up? You know, do you try to settle guys at locations who have a lengthy experience with ones who are just starting out? How do you make it all work so it flows smoothly?
When I first started my business with one location, I think it was important for me to have very talented barbers and being patient with get some top quality barbers. I did start and I had a couple of guys that were fairly new, but they had strong work ethic and they had talent. And, you know, with that one shop, Twin Cutz was the best barber shop in the area, right? Like, I always tell people, man, you could have the best barber shop, but that doesn't make you the most money either by being like, hey, I'm the best. I got the best crew. You know, I've been there. I've done that. You know, and at the same time, I also was like, man, how am I going to cover these bills at the end of the month? It's cool to do that as well, right? As I grew, it's hard to get everybody talented and experienced as well. So I found a foundation when I was doing education, creating more opportunity for people that are just starting out as well. So having a good balance between some experienced people and some people that are new and just learning how to barber. And that's one of the things I think that was different with me than a lot of shops were, is that I gave an opportunity for people to come into my business and they made mistakes. And people are afraid to do that because, you know, a bad reputation makes people not want to come to your business. Oh, if he messes up, I'm not going back to that shop. And that's true. You don't want to do that, but how do people get a start? At the end of the day, there's so many people in the area. You know, you just got to keep staying on top of your business plan and your marketing and allow people to, you know, learn about you. And they'll keep coming in. How does Sport Clip have so many people every single day? I know stylists who don't even do skin fades, and they got 25 people that sit in their chair every single day because they have that marketing campaign, get in and get out. There's a whole group of people that are not like me and you, want sharp lines, hairlines, good fades. They just want to get a haircut, keep it moving, and go to work, and is what your balance. So I never wanted to be like that franchised way. And I always wanted to keep a very personal community out of it, but I wanted a good balance between the two. Whereas like I had a talented home organic shop that I grew and I started, but also with a business structure. And by doing that and bringing in a lot of barbers, it was having diversity and different levels of experience where guys have an opportunity to grow in the business as well.
What age is your oldest barber and what age is your youngest barber, and what have they taught you?
Man, I've had everybody straight out of high school to guys that were older than me and guys that were in their 40s. I think you can always learn from everybody. I think, you know, the older barbers come with wisdom and experience that you can't teach. They have stories that they can tell, whether they're right or wrong. Sometimes you can listen to somebody who's older and go completely, they're going right, you go left because you see the way they're maneuvering, but you still listen. It's not for me to debate their situation, right? And they can give you a lot of great wisdom that you can incorporate as well. And never be the person with the someone who's young and say, oh, you're young and you don't know. Because they're coming with fresh ideas. They're coming as a sponge, right? So where I'm limited at things and I may not have that idea to learn new things, they're coming in with a fresh expression. And their ears are more in tune to the ground. So they're talking about different styles, stuff, and it keeps me relevant. Whether I'm going to take on, you may be a fresh barber right out of high school and you're doing this certain type of trendy cut that's popular today, and my clientele where I'm at may never really focus and go back to cutting your clientele. But what that does for me is to understand that, because if somebody was to come in my door and there's not another person who can do that haircut, I have the understanding and foundation and experience of knowing hair to produce that haircut, and I don't lose the business.
And I meant to ask you, like I said, it's a lot to unpack, because I wanted to ask you about Casper. Casper actually played a big role into me getting to Celsius right at the Mirage. and they needed some assistance over there on Wednesdays at Celsius. He was like, hey, you know, and I had met him at the same time I met you. He's like, hey.
We on?
Huh?
We on?
Yeah.
Casper.
So I wish I could go back, but like I said, there was a lot to unpack.
They brought Casper in on a Wednesday to compete against me because I used to kill Saturday nights, and then they found out I was going on a Wednesday, and they were like, yo, he's coming to the area, he's going to take over a Wednesday night, and they brought Casper. Casper knows he can vouch for it, and then they got the radio station on there, and they brought everything together. And you know what? And I had some great nights, but then Casper started having great nights with the DJ and everything like that, and you know what happened from a competition? We became some of the greatest friends. To this day, me and Casper, like, we don't see each other all the time. We check on each other every now and then. We went from, level sold to a guy named Nick. Nick was this weird dude. He was over there. I stopped doing it on level. Me and Casper was cool. I think what it was this inner competition beef between me and Casper because we was across the street from each other.
Oh, so he wasn't at Lab on Wednesdays. He would
No, he was at Neo's.
Okay.
On Wednesday.
Okay.
I had like Wild Wednesdays and he had Wet Wednesdays or something like that. But I started Wednesday. In my first week I started and they brought Casper in because Casper was doing Saturdays. Casper will tell you my Saturdays was around the corner. So when I came here, it was like, oh, we need to bring Casper because Casper, had the look and everything. So even though we were supposed to be like competition and enemies and stuff, we would see each other outside the club and we talk crap about sports. One, we both from New York, right?
Yeah.
So we both Knicks fans. So we got our love with the Knicks, but he's a Buffalo Bill fan and I'm a Jet fan, so we would bang heads on each other. So then he was like this LeBron dude and I was like whatever at that time. So we was betting money and I lost and I paid him his money. And he was like, yo, you're one of the realest dudes I knew because you know what? Like, you was drunk and we was out there and I said it mildly and I didn't even ask you for it and you came across the street and you gave me the money. And then when I left level, I was like, yo, what's the deal? Let's get on these Saturday nights at Neo and let's take over. You know what? They want to act funny across the street? Let's take it over. And me and him started doing Saturday nights at Neo and we killed it and we had it booming. And then circumstances and things happened, and then we both went over to Level on Saturdays, and we started doing levels together on Saturday. And that was our club history. But me and Casper, man, we got some stories. I got a lot of love for my guy.
That's when, like I said, I started coming out into the scene and whatnot, just to a party and observe, nothing crazy. But when you and Casper White was doing parties together at Level, and no, it was crazy. And
you ever went to Nirvana?
Yes, I did. Oh man, I forgot about Nirvana.
I got a little Nirvana poster over there.
Bring it
Can I
out,
show
bring
you
it out,
that
bring
way?
it out, bring it out.
This was a place. This is how good we were doing. We were doing events. So this is when we brought DJ Smalls to this little Indian restaurant that they ripped down over by the community Walmart. Wow. At a place called Nirvana. And look, we got Quest on it. We got DJ Hitman on it. My
Still
man,
relevant.
Hitman Paul. We'll make a joke about you, my guy. No, he was good as dude. So DJ Hitman used to be I want to say, was the DJ for the Babylon Boys for many years. And then he started rocking with us, and we had a lot of good times, man. It was funny because it was so many different characters, and we came together. And in the back room, we had DJ Hools. So to this day, we talk about relationships. I'm still cool with Casper. Quest, historic legend in the area, always shows love. When I got something great going on in the community, his love for me will spread that news and let people know that I got something going on in the area. He's always been A1 with his thing, and I always love seeing him continuously do his thing. And Hools my DJ at City of Palms, right? So even back then when he was getting his first little gigs and putting his banner in the back room of this club, to this day, we still work together, right? So. But yeah, this was DJ Smalls, man. We had Steve Woods performing that night, and then he really loved Steve Woods' music at that time. And once he recognized that, because I used to do a lot of club promo for Steve Woods. We were doing events, and I'd always have Steve Woods open up at my events. And he liked it, and then Steve started working everywhere, right? But Steve's another Another one of my people, man, Steve.
Yeah.
I see you, baby. I see you.
We're gonna talk about Steve Woods for days. He hosted a lot of parties. We did one of his mixtape parties. And I think it was like August 2nd, like 2013, and that mixtape was like, that's when we really got to see how much of the city was behind him at that mixtape party that we did. It was like my neck of the woods. He'll know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I'll show you some. Can I show you some?
Yeah.
Can I show you some?
Shall we're taking that out of look at her over there. She's not her head.
2009, Rip the Runway, Steve Woods' first performance.
I feel like I remember the Rip the Runway.
We had OG, Wix. I just call him Wix.
Yeah.
You know, OMG Wix. He performed at this event too, and he's killing it right now.
TikTok Wix.
Wix is killing it. But we did Rip the Runway. This one is performance. Steve Woods used to come to my Lyrics Lounge event. He was from Baltimore. I used to make him wait to the last person to come on all the time, and he was patient. He used to come out with a guy named Tone. Used to be together. There was a group, would come out, last one, and then I was like, yo, this kid is nice. And he never complained, and he killed it, and he killed it, and he killed it. And then I was killing the clubs back then, so then I brought Bad Boy out with Danny DeCane. So at the end of the show, making the band, was it making the band? Where he eliminated the people, and Danny DeCane, not Danny DeCane, but Dawn Rashad was the last member signed. At the last episode of that, I put a commercial on the last episode of that show that she'd be appearing at Level. I strategically did that. So when you watch the last episode, go to Club Level, she was performing.
How many people came out that night?
Oh, 500 plus. Guess who's on there? What's the name?
Steve Woods.
Neck of the Woods, 2009.
Steve Woods, yeah, on the shirt, okay.
Yeah. He
And
would
then,
hate this picture. He'd say, I don't like my little dreads, man. I don't like my little dreads. I thought it would be cool. I don't know too many people do that because people talk and stuff, but sometimes it's fun to show stuff like that, and it's like it makes you relive because you grow so much and you build so much, and you look at these people and like I see Steve just click love on one of my things. I see him over there producing in Miami. I used to tell Steve, I said back then, man, you're big, bro. Just get out of Fort Myers, kill it Fort Myers, go over there. But so many great people, man. So many great people, and it was really a blessing. I say at this time in my life. Where I was to see the growth of those guys. And sometimes they get forgotten because time has gone by and younger people come through and different events happen and see them in different stages. But to see them at the origins of things and where they're at is really cool.
No, and the consistency. I think that's what we all respect about them and even us. Consistency, just to stay, how do you stay relevant, after you was at the top, when you thought you was at the top of your peak.
You know, I tell you, just not off topic, but Wix is super impressive, man, because he came to every single Lyricist Lounge one that I had, he's on 3 songs on there, and he would be there, he'd perform, he did his album release party with Double O and Griff Gotti back then, and he was so into music, and then maybe just the music, he stopped for him, but he always had the passion to be an entertainer. So if one door didn't open up for him, he allowed his natural stuff. He was in the club before he even was rapping and stuff. He used to be just in the middle of the dance floor dancing. That was him, just dancing, you know what I'm saying? And to see where he's at now and have a consistency to it, it's just like it's great. I love seeing people follow their passion and do growth and see him in different places.
Wix, like I said, he's all crazy on TikTok, millions of views, and I think he's got some kind of partnership going on with Publix. So he rocks the Publix sweaters and everything.
Have him cater my next party.
All right, so you mentioned all the relationships that you have, from the Wix to DJ Hitman, the Quest. How did you develop a partnership with the City of Palms Classic, which is, I'll let you tell what the City of Palms Classic is to the viewers.
Well, City of Palms Classic is the #1 high school tournament in the nation. It's been going on for 50 years in Fort Myers. This goes back down to the day where it was in Bishop Verot. Now it went into FSW. The nation top high school kids play in this tournament every year. If you were to look at the NBA stars that like Jason Tatum and Brown played at the City of Palms. As we were talking about today's 2 of the best of today's league, they're in there. Last year, the NBA bought the City of Palms, so it's one of 7 NBA high school tournaments in the nation. That's why they covered the event on an ESPN network the last couple of days, and now the talent even got higher that every single team that's invited has a prospect that's generally going to make it to the NBA. Last year, Cooper Flagg was playing in the tournament. He plays for Duke this year, and he's projected to be the #1 pick overall in the NBA. So we have a grooming lounge that's in part of the city of Palms where we cut exclusively the athletes, the media, the coaches, the NBA scouts, and are the top sponsors.
It's amazing. All right. Out of all the future phenoms that are there, what's the craziest hair request that you have got asked for?
Oh man, over there, I think all the kids nowadays, they're wearing such a natural thing. They like want a haircut without having a haircut.
What? I had to process that.
Yeah, like, don't cut my hair, but cut my hair, right? Like whatever's the wildest thing that's on top of my head, but just like do the lowest taper and the lowest taper in the back and give me a sharp line and a sharp edge. And that's kind of natural. Natural hairstyles are very big right now. Doesn't even matter the culture, right? You got like guys with coarse coiled hair, big natural. And you got the white kids now with the big mushroom flop over top right now. Same style, but just two different type of hair texture. I'd say that's probably the wildest.
Out of all those future phenoms, that you cut, who has been that made it to the NBA? Which one of those guys have you came across that had like the wisest advice and you were surprised by it dating back?
Man, sticking out, I think would be more like some of the coaches that I was speaking to. Corey Alexander, we had a great conversation. He's an analyst at ESPN. He came in at the very first day of City of Palms. Actually came down. We had a great relationship since then. He came down to Naples to do a wedding, reached out to me. I went over there, gave him a haircut. Wow. And we just kind of like build. He's into media, so it's like just talking and building. But a lot of like, I guess the coaches. As far as the kids, I think they probably talk to me and look at my advice a little bit without giving advice. They're like, I'm a little bit of the older guy with them, so they don't.
And
really
they got to
much.
grow fast too because they literally do 1 year in the university and then after that they NBA. So they got to grow. They go from like 16. They go from 16 from a teenager to a grown man within months.
The teenagers then they're more focused on jumping on and getting that Madden tournament that we throw in where they get the free video games and get the free food and we got the DJ, we got the food, we got the tournament going on, we got everything. To go back though, we were talking about marketing. You asked me how I received that. The biggest part about that was sticking to my brand and having something respectable. If you pay attention to my social media, I'm never out of pocket. Never.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning there's nothing out there that's ever going to cause me to lose any type of opportunity to build a relationship with any brand. It's always positive. It's always instructive. It's always somewhat promotional. It's never spam. It's a little bit of my lifestyle. It's a little bit of my niche, my technique. It's a little bit about my business. It's always positive. I'm proud to show anybody my social media. It doesn't matter the age, the age range, demographic, financial person, it doesn't matter. The business is because anybody that looks at it will always create an opportunity to offer me a job if they need education or hair done. So City of Palms took notice to mine. I didn't reach out to them and I had a message saying, we like what you're doing. Would you like to sit down and talk? We would like to have some barbers cut at the City of Palms. And I went there and I saw the opportunity and I said, well, I can do more than just cut barbers' hair. What are you doing with that big VIP booth? I just previously was part of an organization where we cut at the Celebration Bowl, which was the HBCU's championship game where we cut in the Omni in Atlanta. And this is when Deion was coaching Jackson State. And we cut all the athletes on North Carolina and Jackson State. They were all coming in and the coaches and everything. So I said, why don't we do the same thing in Fort Myers? I'll get a DJ, I'll get food, I'll get video games, I'll get barbers, we'll have the jerseys, we'll do all these things. They loved it so much. When you gave me the one opportunity to do that, I took the relationships from me working with Anders. 10 years loyal to the company, provided all my clippers and tools, provided 450 tools and clippers to give to every single athlete. Level 3, a partnership that I've had with the owner for several years, been working with the company for 4 years since it's level 3, provided gift bags and swag bags of hair products and everything for the companies, doing it again this year.
Before this interview, you already put your life inside of a book. So can you tell us more about the Barber's Journey? And where can they find the Barber's Journey? So
the Barber Journey, which reached number 17 on the Teachers and Mentors category in the nation on Amazon, hit number 17. And at one time I wasn't going to promote it. I wanted number 1. I was down, and my man Wordsworth, he does a lot of promotion, and he was a Teacher of the Year here. I knew him from Lyricist Lounge way back in the day. He's been one of my best friends since I was 19 years old. Anyway, he lives in the area. Had to give him a plug. Check out his music, Wordsworth. He's the one who was telling me, yo, let people know it was number 17. I was the type of person, I didn't reach number 1. He's like, yo, 17's amazing. Now I'm like number like 1,000 something. You know, you reach that limit. Anyway, long story short, it's available on Amazon. And the reason why I created this is because I wanted a guide for people that are starting something and find inspiration. So there's elements of my life that's in the book, but it's a fictional book. So instead of telling you a to-do book, it is the values of somebody starting something. So this happens to be about a kid who was excited to start school, found inspiration through the environment, found guidance through the mentor, the teacher, found importance through community work, and took all those things and how to overcome fears by taking in new clients and reaching out how to build relationships on how to build clientele. And then from that, going into the job search and providing all those values you took at the earliest stages to eventually owning your own business. So it's a short book and it's like a manual, and I give all my students this book when they start. And it's good for anybody. If you're not a barber, it just shows you that, you know, all those elements to success fall within. It's just finding the right person around you, right? Listening to people, finding things that are positive within the community, staying engaged, and keep moving forward. So you got to be a white belt, man. You didn't know about a white belt mentality?
Nah, can you explain?
All right. So you know what a black belt is, right?
Correct.
What is it?
A karate, you know, is the top of the top.
It's the top of the
top
top.
tier ninja.
Yeah, you're a master. Now, when you're a white belt, what are you?
A rookie?
You're a rookie, right? You're a sponge. You learn everything. Everything's new. Everything's exciting. But when you're a master, it's hard to find things that inspire you and take on new things. So if as long as you keep a white man mentality, you're keeping your mind open to always absorb and learn new things in life.
Now, been around numerous years, have 6 chains, or 7 at one point. How many black belts do you think you have produced? Guys that want to open up their own barbershops and the whole
There's a
nine.
lot of Twin Cutz dojos out there, my friend. There's a lot of people who built up a shop, you know, who had a foundation. I'm not going to say Twin Cutz. They, like anything else, right? Again, I didn't invent the wheel. You know what I mean? I provided an environment. There's a lot of people that I've seen, you know, starting. My place was for many great barbers that are in the area right now. When they started their career, they started at a Twin Cutz. And they made their mistakes at a Twin Cutz. And they grew from a Twin Cutz. And then they built their own businesses through, you know, not through, but after Twin Cutz. Because I always believe that everybody has in their destiny that one way or another, they're going to find that avenue to be successful. But I will say that there's many shops in the area that I know the owner that I know when they first started starting barbering.
2024, you opened up a new school.
Yes.
I almost said another barbershop, a new barbershop, but I said a school. It's called Sean Casey Academy.
Barber Academy by Sean Casey. But my online academy is SeanCaseyAcademy.com, so I got both.
All right.
You can learn both.
So, you know, I came to the grand opening.
I appreciate that, and thank you very much, man.
No problem.
I appreciate
brought a
the
couple
support.
friends too. Yeah, no problem. You know, you have family and friends in attendance, but not that. You know, you had local officials in attendance as well. The mayor of Fort Myers has showed up.
Yes.
Why this school, and was this more challenging or less challenging than opening up a barbershop?
It's the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, this school. Something new. This is bringing me back to 2010 when I opened up my first Twin Cutz. It's starting brand new, all those same techniques, those areas of having to do things from ground up, being patient, being prepared to take a few losses in order to cover overhead and expenses and marketing and everything to make sure that you produce the product. But like anything else, I took years of experience. I didn't just open up a school, right? Like I've been educating with companies since 2011. I've been working with local barber schools in the area part-time throughout my journey as well, where I picked up experiences. I've traveled around the country doing education. And where I'm at in the place, it fulfills me more than anything. Even more than cutting hair. There was a time when I was so hungry. If you were to ask me 15 plus years ago, I'd say, you know, I'm the best barber in the area, you know, because it was just like if I was a musician. Doesn't mean if I was or I wasn't, but my mindset would have been like, yo, I'm the best barber, and that's how I'd approach it. Now I tell you, I was like, man, I'm sure there's a lot of kids that are faded better than me. I walk into the door, maybe I use my name to sell. My haircuts are on a different level. I'm not even trying to compete like that. I still have a passion. I still love doing it. I like that I'm in a place where I can still show my art. Barbering is art to me. And the passion to see kids at the aha moment. I built a strong social media following for myself through finding my niche of giving tidbits of education, right? Clips and videos on how to do techniques. And everything just fell into place. When it was that time, I said, you know, with the shops that I have and where I want to be in a place, I found joy in reaching out to kids and developing their potential and giving them a piece of my DNA to enjoy a life that I think that I can fall back and say that I really appreciate that I built for myself.
What's the address to the school, and how could an aspiring barber sign up?
So you can go to the Barber Academy by SeanCasey.com. All the information is on there. You can click on the link. You can enroll. You can set up a tour. You can come in person. We'll provide all the information, and you can enroll as well.
All right.
We're right here in Fort Myers, Florida as well, right here off of Metro Parkway.
As we're wrapping up, how many more Twin Cutz franchises can we expect, and are you interested in expanding throughout the nation?
Man, to infinity and beyond. I don't give my any numbers. We talked about this conversation at the beginning. I didn't plan on scaling my business. It just happened. As I grow and the opportunity's there, let me go for it. I'm not like, hey, I want to do X amount, but I believe that if the timing's right and the system works and the formula's in place, the opportunity's there, absolutely. I'll keep opening it up when it makes sense and keep growing and building.
All right, so where could they find you on social media and the 6 locations?
All right, so take down some notes, guys. We're gonna do, if you wanna follow my journey, go to Twin Cutz _CEO. That's on Instagram and that's on TikTok. If you wanna book an amazing haircut at any of my locations, go to twincutz.com. That's Twin Cutz with a Z.com. Find the one location nearest to you, select your barber, see the opening, get in, get out, get a great haircut. If you want to become a barber and become a licensed barber, go to the Barber Academy by SeanCasey.com, set up a tour, stop in, let's talk, let's start your career. And if you're a barber out there and you're looking for continuing education and you're trying to get better with a skill set, I have a virtual online academy as well called SeanCaseyAcademy.com, where we got tips and videos and stuff. I have a masterclass on business. And go ahead, grab my book. While you're at it, go to Amazon, The Barber's Journey. Give me, buy it, tell me what you think, boost up them ratings. Let me get to that #1 spot, baby.
Before we let you go, what's an advice that you have for an aspiring risk taker?
Believe in yourself. Don't be afraid to put pressure on your back. There's an old saying, you never know how fast you can run till a dog's running behind you.